The alien empire had been preparing for war for decades. Their fleet was massive, a terrifying force of technology and firepower that could crush entire planets. They had studied human defenses, tracked every military movement, and strategized for every possible outcome. They were ready for an invasion, but nothing could have prepared them for what actually arrived. A single ship. That's all they saw as it entered their system, drifting silently through the cold void of space. Their commanders laughed at the absurdity. Surely, this was some kind of mistake, a scouting ship or a fluke. There was no way a single human vessel could pose any threat to their mighty empire. The enemy had calculated their forces and concluded that they would annihilate humanity with ease. But what they didn't know was that humans were never easy to predict. No one had ever truly understood the resolve of the species, their willingness to fight, even when the odds were hopeless. And this lone ship wasn't just carrying a handful of soldiers, it was the tip of humanity's spear, a symbol of their defiance. Inside the ship, the crew was a mix of the bravest humans the Empire had ever encountered. But it wasn't the soldiers who held the true power. It was the one at the helm, their leader. A person who had seen the worst of humanity's struggles, who had lived through war, loss, and the kind of hardships that would break most. They had nothing to lose and everything to fight for. This wasn't just a mission of conquest. This was personal. The ship powered up its engines, sending a signal to the enemy fleet that they were not the underdogs. They were not weak. And they were not going to give up without a fight. The aliens watched in disbelief as the human ship advanced, its weapons fully charged, prepared to take on the full might of their empire. What had they unleashed? The alien fleet held steady, unsure of how to react. Their commanders issued orders to open fire, expecting to crush the human ship in seconds. But as their weapons charged up, something unexpected happened. The ship didn't retreat or falter. It moved with a precision that seemed to mock their every move, evading their attacks with ease. And then, in an instant, the human ship fired back. The blast was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. It tore through the alien ships with shocking efficiency, and in a matter of seconds, the tides of the battle began to shift. The aliens scrambled to regroup, but they were not prepared for this. They never expected humanity to show up with a single ship and turn the tables so quickly. As the human ship pushed forward, the enemy realized the truth: they were not facing an army. They were facing something much more dangerous, a single human, unyielding, and relentless. But in the chaos of the moment, the question remained: who was the true mastermind behind this bold attack? And how far would they go to ensure humanity's survival? The alien fleet was in disarray, their ships scattered across the dark expanse of space, unable to regroup. The human vessel, once a speck in their sensors, now appeared as a force to be reckoned with. It wasn't just the ship's technology that unsettled the invaders, it was the person behind the controls. They didn't understand who this human was, nor what drove them to stand alone against an entire armada. Back on Earth, news of the mission had reached every corner of the planet. Humans, tired of being underestimated, had finally decided to take the fight to the stars. The government, military leaders, and world powers had all joined forces for the first time in history, preparing for the inevitable clash with the alien empire. But none of them had known who would lead the charge. Who could command such a ship with the courage to face overwhelming odds? Her name was still a mystery to the galaxy. Her face was not one of a seasoned general or a decorated commander. In fact, she wasn't even in the military at all. She was just a survivor. A woman who had lived through the brutal trials of humanity's darkest days. Her family had been lost in wars long past. Her home had been torn apart by forces she couldn't understand. But now, she was here, driving the very ship that had just struck fear into the heart of an empire. As the human ship powered through space, evading incoming fire, she sat silently in the cockpit. Her eyes, cold and focused, scanned the battlefield. She wasn't just a soldier. She was something more, a symbol of humanity's resilience, of the countless lives that had been taken in wars fought by people who were never given a chance to fight back. The aliens didn't know it yet, but they were about to understand what it meant to provoke a species that had nothing left to lose. The alien fleet was still trying to recover, But every attempt to regroup was met with another strike from the human ship. It was as if the ship itself was alive, anticipating the aliens' every move. It wasn't just the weapons or the technology. There was something almost instinctual about the way it moved. The aliens were beginning to question whether this was truly just one human ship. Had Earth secretly developed something far beyond their expectations? Were there more of these ships waiting, hidden in the depths of space, prepared to finish what this lone warrior had started? The truth was far more unsettling. There was no backup. This was all humanity had. Just one ship, commanded by one person. The rest of Earth's forces could only watch, helpless, as their fate rested on the shoulders of this single individual. As the battle raged on, a sudden transmission came through, breaking through the chaos of combat. It was a simple message, just 3 words, yet they carried an unmistakable weight. This is just the beginning. The alien commanders looked at each other, unsure of how to proceed. The voice on the other end of that transmission was calm, unwavering, but there was something in it that rattled them. It was the voice of someone who had already won the fight. The ships that had survived the initial assault tried to regroup for a counterattack. But no matter what they did, the human ship was always one step ahead. It was clear now they had underestimated humanity in ways they could never have predicted. But there was still so much they didn't know. Who was this human? How had they gained access to such powerful technology? And what other secrets were hidden in the depths of the human race? As the human ship moved closer to the heart of the alien fleet, a final message blinked onto their screens this time, not from the human commander, but from someone else. Someone who had been watching from the shadows all along. A name appeared on the screen, but before the message could be decoded, the transmission was abruptly cut off. The galaxy held its breath. Who had just entered the fray? And what were they about to unleash? The battle in space raged on, but the true fight had only just begun. The alien commanders were scrambling now, unable to ignore the growing sense of dread that had spread through their ranks. The human ship, once considered a mere nuisance, had become a nightmare they couldn't seem to shake. Every attempt to strike back was met with precision, each move by the human ship calculated and ruthless. The aliens had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and now the cost of their arrogance was starting to unfold. Back on Earth, the leaders who had hoped to see a mighty fleet of ships standing against the alien empire were left in the dark. All eyes were fixed on the lone vessel, the only one capable of making a stand. The rest of humanity had to rely on one person, one ship, to change the fate of their species. And with each passing minute, it was becoming clearer this wasn't just about military might. It was about something deeper, something intangible that only humans seemed to possess the will to endure, to survive, no matter the odds. Inside the human ship, the leader, still a mystery to the galaxy, wasn't celebrating victories. Her focus remained unbroken, her eyes locked on the battlefield ahead. She wasn't fighting for glory, nor was she seeking revenge. She was fighting for something much more personal. The loss of her family, her home, the years of watching the world crumble under forces beyond her control, it all led her here, to this moment. The alien empire hadn't just invaded human space, they had taken everything from her. And now they would pay the price for it. Yet, despite her personal vendetta, there was something bigger happening. The alien empire wasn't just a foreign invader. It was a force that threatened all of humanity. And for the first time, the human race was seeing its true potential. Every maneuver, every attack from the human ship was a testament to the unyielding spirit of a species pushed to the brink of extinction. The commander wasn't just a survivor. She was a representation of all the people who had been silenced, forgotten, and left to suffer. The ship itself, though advanced in technology, was an embodiment of humanity's resilience. But even as the battle seemed to favor the humans, a new shadow loomed. The transmission that had broken through the chaos had left everyone on edge. A name had appeared, but no one knew who it belonged to. Who had sent that message? What was their connection to the human ship and its mysterious commander? Were they allies or enemies in disguise? The alien fleet had begun to regroup, their numbers dwindling, but their resolve growing. Their leaders understood the power of surprise, and they had one final ace up their sleeves, a weapon so devastating it could turn the tide of the war in an instant. However, it wasn't ready. Not yet. The human ship was making progress too quickly, pushing them into a corner. The aliens needed to strike back and fast. As the mysterious name on the screen echoed in the human ship's communications, the commander's thoughts raced. Who was this person? Why had they cut off the transmission before revealing their intentions? It wasn't just a message, it was a warning. And the commander wasn't sure whether it was meant for her or for the aliens. In the darkness of space, the human ship continued to move forward. The battle was far from over, and the tension was palpable. With each passing moment, the odds seemed to tilt further in favor of humanity, but the questions were multiplying. What was hidden in the depths of the alien fleet? Who was behind the cryptic message? And most importantly, what would happen when the true power of the aliens was unleashed? As the ship neared the heart of the alien armada, her breath was steady, but beneath the calm exterior, her mind raced. She wasn't sure how long they could keep up this fight. She wasn't sure how many more battles she could face alone. The weight of humanity's future rested on her shoulders, and she couldn't afford to falter now. But as the next transmission came through, she realized with growing horror that the real fight hadn't even begun. The screen blinked once more. And this time, the message was clear: we have arrived. Who had arrived? And what did it mean for the fate of the galaxy? The transmission had shaken the human commander to her core. We have arrived. The words echoed in her mind, each syllable heavier than the last. Who were they? The aliens had already proven themselves ruthless, but this new arrival, this unknown force, was something entirely different. The message was clear enough, but its implications were anything but. She glanced at the control panel, her fingers tightening around the steering wheel of the ship. The sensors were picking up more signals now. Unusual energy readings, flashes of light, and small, rapid-moving objects entering the outskirts of the battlefield. These weren't just enemy ships. They were something else entirely, moving with a precision and speed that even the most advanced alien technology couldn't replicate. Something new had entered the fray, and the commander knew they weren't here to watch. The alien fleet, still recovering from the brutal blows dealt by the lone human ship, was beginning to regroup. But the commander wasn't focused on them anymore. Her attention was fixed on the distant horizon of space, where the first flicker of the new force's power was beginning to show. They were coming closer, and with every passing second, the tension in her chest grew tighter. In the dark reaches of the command center, far away from the battle, a new player was emerging. The person who had sent that cryptic message was not some ally or friendly force. They were not from Earth. No, they were a force long forgotten, ancient even by galactic standards, and their intentions were as unclear as the message they had left behind. The commander had no idea who these beings were, nor how they had known exactly when to make their entrance. The ship's AI buzzed urgently. New signatures detected, it announced in its calm, mechanical voice. They are approaching rapidly. Estimated time to contact, 5 minutes. The commander's heart skipped a beat. 5 minutes. That was all she had. The alien fleet was already in disarray, but it wouldn't take much for them to regroup and strike back. And now, with this unknown force coming into play, the odds of surviving this battle were slipping away. Her mind raced, considering the possibilities. Could this new force be a threat even greater than the alien empire? Were they allies, or would they be the final blow to humanity's last hope? She didn't have the answers. Not yet. But as the countdown continued, she knew one thing. She had to keep fighting. She had to protect humanity, no matter the cost. The message had been clear: we have arrived. And now, it was up to her to figure out what that meant. The alien ships were already preparing for their next strike, unaware of the incoming unknown threat. The commander felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders. She couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the arrival of this new force was the key to everything. If they were allies, they could tip the balance of power in favor of humanity. But if they weren't, her thoughts were interrupted by the flashing red lights on the control panel. Impact imminent, the AI warned again. In the distance, The first of the mysterious ships emerged from the blackness, their sleek, unfamiliar forms moving faster than anything the aliens could track. The alien fleet paused, their strategy momentarily halted by the sudden appearance of this unknown enemy. Panic spread through their ranks. They had no idea what they were facing. And the human commander? She had no idea how much longer she could hold out. Her ship was running low on energy, her weapons nearly depleted from the earlier assaults. Every decision now felt like a risk, every move she made crucial to the survival of humanity. She took a deep breath, knowing that the final confrontation was upon her. As the unknown force closed in on the battlefield, both the alien fleet and the human ship prepared for the inevitable clash. Would the mysterious new force help or betray them all? The weight of the galaxy was about to come crashing down on one final moment. The clock was ticking. And with it, the silence of space deepened as the most dangerous battle in history loomed on the edge of collapse. As the mysterious ships approached, their presence intensified the silence of space, like an ominous storm on the horizon. The human commander could feel the tension in every fiber of her being, but she didn't have time to wonder who these new players were or why they'd come. The stakes had just skyrocketed. The alien fleet, now aware of the unknown force on the horizon, hesitated. Their once certain victory now seemed uncertain, as if the universe itself had decided to throw one last wrench into their plans. The commander's eyes darted across the control panel. The alien fleet's remaining ships were locked in a standoff, unsure whether to charge forward or retreat into the unknown. It was then that a startling realization hit her like a shockwave. These mysterious ships weren't coming to engage the aliens. They were coming directly for her. The sudden shift in the atmosphere was palpable. The unknown force was no longer just an enigma. They were now an active threat. She gripped the controls harder, heart racing. The ship's AI began to chime with increasing urgency, alerting her to the incoming vessels. There was no time to process the implications. The priority now was survival. The only problem? Her ship was at its limits. The weapons had been drained in the battle with the alien fleet, and energy levels were dangerously low. She had no way of knowing if this new threat was hostile, but she couldn't afford to sit and wait for the answer. The unknown ships grew larger on the radar, their patterns erratic but precise. Unlike the alien fleet, which had followed a more predictable approach to combat, these ships moved with a fluidity and grace that defied conventional warfare tactics. The commander's mind raced. What kind of technology were they using? How were they able to maneuver so effortlessly? And most terrifying of all, what was their endgame? Just as she prepared to make evasive maneuvers, something even more alarming occurred. A ripple of energy surged through space, and the commander's screen flickered violently. The mysterious ships had just activated a strange, unknown technology, a field of energy that distorted everything around them. The ship's sensors went haywire, unable to process the data. The human vessel, for the first time in the battle, was completely blind. No matter how hard she tried to regain control, the interference was too strong. It was like the laws of physics themselves had been twisted and distorted. Suddenly, the message from earlier appeared again on her screen. "We are not your allies. We are here for what you have." The words were cold, threatening. But it wasn't just a warning. It was a statement. They knew something. They knew about the human ship's technology. They knew about the weapon it carried, something that, up until now, had been kept secret. The implications were staggering. The commander's ship wasn't just an advanced human vessel. It held something more, something the mysterious force wanted. Her pulse quickened. What had they discovered? What was she carrying that could be so valuable, so dangerous? As the energy field around the unknown ships intensified, the commander's ship was trapped. Her once strong position in the battle had dissolved into nothing more than a powerless target. Desperation crept into her thoughts. If the aliens didn't destroy her, these new entities would. If only she could regain control. If only she could break free. But even as she tried to maneuver, she realized the true scope of the problem. They weren't just here to fight, they were here to take. The commander had no choice. She had to act quickly. But with her ship trapped in the field, the tension between the alien forces, the mysterious ships, and her own crumbling resistance was mounting, and she had no idea how much time she had left. Would the aliens strike first? Would the mysterious force claim what they came for? Or was there another secret hidden in the depths of her ship, one that could turn the tide? The tension in the control room was unbearable. The mysterious ships were closing in, their energy fields still distorting space around her vessel. The commander's breath came in short, shallow bursts as she tried desperately to regain control of the ship. She could hear the distant hum of the alien fleet, still lurking on the edge of the battlefield, unsure of what to do. But all of that faded into the background as the real threat loomed closer. The unknown force was here. And they weren't just here to fight, they were here to take. In a moment of desperation, the commander slammed her fist against the console. Come on, she muttered, as the ship's AI struggled to override the interference. The seconds felt like hours. Every possible move, every escape route flashed through her mind, but nothing was working. The strange ships were closing in. That's when it hit her, the weapon. She had always known the human ship carried something more than just advanced technology. It was built around an experimental weapon, one of the few remaining trump cards that humanity had. The very weapon that had been designed to protect Earth from the alien invasion. It was a desperate measure, one that could destroy entire fleets, and it was their last resort. But it came with a risk. If it misfired, if it malfunctioned, it could destroy the ship itself. Her fingers hovered over the activation sequence, her heart pounding. If she activated it, she was risking everything. But the truth was clear: if she didn't, they were all dead. The alien fleet was just waiting for the right moment to strike, and these new ships, these mysterious entities, wanted something from her. Something she didn't understand, but knew was vital. Can you override the interference?" she asked, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding. The AI's response was a mechanical hum. Negative. Field distortion too strong. Recommend alternate course of action. She knew what she had to do. With a trembling hand, she initiated the weapon sequence. The ship's engines roared as the power surged through the hull. A deep, pulsing light emanated from the core of the vessel, signaling that the weapon was charging. For a moment, the interference seemed to relent, just enough for the ship to make a final maneuver. The commander's heart raced. This was her last chance. She locked her eyes on the unknown ships, the ones that had come for her, for the weapon, for humanity's last hope. And then, without warning, the alien fleet moved. In that instant, everything collided. The weapon fired, a beam of raw energy so intense that it tore through space itself, cutting across the battlefield with a force the galaxy had never seen before. The blast hit the leading alien ship, disintegrating it in an instant. But the blast didn't stop there. The beam continued to tear through the alien fleet, incinerating ship after ship, until nothing remained but the faintest traces of their former presence. But that wasn't the end. The unknown ships, now in the path of the weapon's blast, had moved in just in time to shield the commander's ship from the blast's full force. She watched in horror as their sleek vessels absorbed the energy, their hulls shimmering under the strain. There was something about them, something otherworldly in the way they operated. They weren't human. They weren't alien. They were something entirely different. And as the final remnants of the alien fleet were wiped from existence, the commander realized they had not come to fight the aliens. They had come for the weapon. As the energy from the blast dissipated, the ships surrounding her began to move again. This time, they didn't approach with the same aggression. Instead, they hovered, silent and calculating, as though they were waiting for something. The commander, panting from the intensity of the moment, couldn't look away from their glowing forms. What were they? Why had they shielded her ship from the blast? And most importantly, what did they want now? The screen flickered, and once again, the message flashed. We are here to take what belongs to us. The air around her grew thick with the weight of it. The unknown ships had protected her, but only for a moment. Now, they were preparing for the next move. The commander's heart sank. The true danger hadn't been the alien fleet or the weapon, it had been the mystery that had been following her all along. As the mysterious ships closed in once more, the commander realized with a growing sense of dread that humanity's survival wasn't just about defeating their enemies, it was about surviving the choices that had led them here. And in the darkness of space, with the wreckage of the battle all around her, one truth became clear: this war was far from over. And whatever happened next, it was going to change the galaxy forever. The silence in the cockpit was deafening. The commander's pulse was still racing, her mind struggling to piece together what had just happened. The alien fleet was gone, wiped out by the devastating blast from the weapon, but now the mysterious ships loomed before her, their intentions still unclear. She sat motionless, staring at the glowing vessels that had once seemed like enemies, but now felt more like protectors. The ships didn't advance immediately. Instead, they circled her vessel slowly, their movements synchronized, deliberate. The commander felt a chill run down her spine as they closed in. Was this the moment of humanity's final reckoning, or could there be more to this unexpected twist? Her ship's AI finally broke the silence. "Commander, energy levels are stabilizing. Weapon system offline. We've been fully drained." "Understood," the commander murmured. She tried to steady her shaking hands. She had been prepared for a battle against the alien fleet, but this? She wasn't ready for this. The unknown ships continued to hover, their mysterious energy fields flickering. Then, suddenly, the communication system buzzed to life. A voice, smooth, almost hypnotic, spoke directly into the commander's mind. "We are the Ancients. The weapon you wield is a part of us. It has been lost for eons. You have awakened it. Now, it is time to return what you have taken." The commander's breath caught in her throat. The Ancients? What did that mean? She had no frame of reference, no understanding of what they were, only that they were more powerful and ancient than anything she had ever encountered. The weapon she had used to destroy the alien fleet had been theirs, part of a power so old that humanity hadn't even known it existed. "What do you want from us?" she asked, her voice strained, every word heavy with the weight of the moment. "You will return the weapon. In exchange, we will protect your species. We will guide you. But we will not allow you to misuse that power." The commander's mind reeled. Humanity had spent years fighting for survival, facing an alien empire that thought they were insignificant. And now, after all that, after the bloodshed and the desperate battle, the truth was more shocking than anything she could have imagined. The weapon that had been their salvation was a relic of an ancient civilization, one that had been watching them all along. But the commander didn't hesitate. This wasn't about the weapon. It was about humanity's future. The aliens had been an enemy, and now they were nothing but a memory, wiped away by the very weapon they had underestimated. The Ancients had saved her ship, but they had made it clear humanity's destiny was in their hands now. "I understand," the commander said, her voice steady, "but I won't let humanity be slaves to anyone again. We will use the knowledge, but we'll do it on our terms. Your terms will be honored. We will help you build what you need, but only if you prove worthy." The ships moved away slowly, their presence still looming, but no longer as a threat. The energy field around her began to dissipate, the pressure lifting. The commander watched as the mysterious ships faded into the vastness of space, leaving behind only the remnants of the battle that had been fought. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The fight was over, but the war for humanity's future was just beginning. The human ship floated alone in the void, surrounded by the wreckage of the battle. The commander knew that things would never be the same. The Ancients had given humanity a chance to learn, to grow, and perhaps, to one day stand side by side with them as equals. But it wouldn't be easy. Trust had to be earned, and the weapon they had wielded so recklessly was a reminder that power, in the wrong hands, could destroy everything. But now, humanity had a choice. They could embrace this new future, or they could continue fighting to protect what was theirs. And with the mysterious force still watching, the commander knew one thing for sure: whatever path humanity chose, it would change the galaxy forever. As she gazed out into the infinite expanse of space, she couldn't help but wonder what would the Ancients do next. And would humanity be ready when they came again?